As more and more mods are added into the game, the greater are the frustrations that can arise because of them. And while I really want to take this opportunity to rant about Adhesive Blast, I am not going to, for now. But before I get into this video's topic about what I consider to be useless mods in Warframe, let me be clear about something else that is also starting to become a problem. I will only talk about this briefly, but I feel it's an important thing to get out of the way, and that is primed mods. Primed mods are enhanced mods that are upgrades of regular mods and require much more credits and endo to max out, as they also require more mod capacity to use. They require 41,000 endo and almost 2 million credits to max, which is a lot even to a veteran player of Warframe, unless they do nothing but grind for these things. Their biggest problem is cost, however, and with every new primed mod that comes out, players likely have to slot in one forma onto every weapon or warframe they own in order to fit it on, and this is causing problems. And a problem that will bleed into utility mods, which is why I mentioned primed mods in the first place. Because they use up so much capacity, and the fact you are limited to a maximum of 60 points on a weapon, you must forma these slots, which removes the ability to use that slot for anything other than mods that fit that polarity. This is why you will see that despite the fact that I have plenty of endo and credits, I do not max most of the primed mods I own, as I don't want to put a forma on every single slot on my guns, as this will severely limit the builds I can do. Sometimes I want to have fun with my Rhino and build for a maximum duration roar to help with the team, which will require an extra D polarity, but sometimes I might want to maximize his iron skin, which requires several V polarities. The reason this is a problem is every mod potentially has the option of being released as a primed version, including every elemental mod on every weapon. As a hypothetical, although this may be the case in the future, if every damage and elemental mod had a primed version, you would be required to have a polarity slot on each of the 8 slots you get on a weapon, with V and dash being the primary ones you would have to do. Not only would this mean vast amounts of forma if you use more than a handful of weapons, but this also means that every slot must match the polarity, restricting builds to their utmost maximized potential with no room for customization. But with that issue out of the way, it's time for me to talk about what I call utility mods in general, and pick out specific ones as examples of why they are generally a waste of time and will become even less appealing as more mods are added or primed. Utility mods are anything that does not boost overall damage, boost physical damage, boost elemental damage, or enhance critical hits. The problem with utility mods is they don't ever add enough of a stat to justify their use for the most part, as just increasing the damage will allow you to kill enemies quicker. On my Magnus build shown here, for example, you notice that I only have one utility mod installed, which reduces reload and very marginally adds status chance, which is useful as the normal reload time is 2.4 seconds long. Reload and fire rate are generally the only utility mods that are worth using, for obvious reasons. But say I wanted to simply reload less often by adding a magazine increasing mod, I have a few choices, however each has its own glaring negatives that prevent me from doing so. Slip magazine will increase the magazine from 16 to 21, adding only 5 rounds at the cost of an entire mod slot and bringing the reload back to 2.4 seconds. I could pump the 40,000 endo and 2 million credits into primed slip magazine and put a forma on the weapon to fit it, but this would only increase the magazine to 24 rounded down, and only 3 more rounds more than the unprimed mod. Another option is the corrupted mod tainted clip, which would increase the magazine to 26, which is an increase of 10 rounds and cost less to use. However, it will increase the time it takes to reload to 3.4 seconds. In all of these cases I don't really improve the weapon at all. An easy fix to this, by the way, would be to simply double the bonuses the mods give, so it would add more to justify using the slot. But just like the Sentinel mod Medi-Ray, if you already have a very large health pool, the mod will be excellent, but if you don't have much health, the mod is almost useless, and the same goes for utility mods. If your magazine capacity is already good, the mod will give you a great boost to the magazine. However, the weapon already has a good capacity, so it would be silly to increase it further, which is the main problem with how utility mods work. Mods are supposed to be to boost your weapon, and utility mods are specifically designed to boost stats that you want to improve. However, due to them working as a percentage-based system, they are only useful on weapons that already have that stat boosted on its own. Another example of utility is status duration. Status duration mods have an odd place in Warframe, as for some weapons and some weapon types they can be mildly useful, while others are just plain useless. In the case of the melee version Lasting Sting, it will more than double the time status effects last. However, it costs a large amount of endo and credits to do so, and enemies will generally die in the next few swings, status procs or not, making it less appealing. The pistol version Perpetual Agony is the worst offender, only increasing status duration by 30%, which equates to 1 or 2 ticks of extra damage, or a couple extra seconds of status duration. The rifle version, Continuous Misery, is one of the only ones I recommend using, and only on weapons with high status chance and high slash damage, or alternatively high critical chance for hunter munitions / procs. The reason is not only does it double the duration of status procs, but it does so cheaply at only 7 mod points maxed, and some weapons can benefit from their procs lasting longer as shown here. While adding more elemental damage again is likely better, this is one of the few uses of this kind of utility and the only way I would recommend ever using status duration mods. In my opinion, a large majority of mods are useless or barely usable in Warframe, but for some reason Digital Extremes does not take the time to just buff or change these mods and instead work on new open world content, despite mods being an integral part of the game. Will they ever fix or buff these mods? I have no idea myself, but perhaps someday Digital Extremes will take a closer and more serious look at the mess of trash they have left behind.